Good morning. My name's Alex Brinkley. I'm a corporal in the United States Marine Corps, 26 years old, from Northern California. Currently, I'm on deployment in Darwin, Australia. So I'm just going to try and cover my work history pretty quick. Basically, freshman year, started welding, took welding class, and did a lot of school projects, repairing bleachers and stuff after school. And then sophomore year, I took advanced welding and learned a couple more welding processes and got more hands-on with like fabrication and stuff. And then I started working at it's called the maintenance shop, a small car repair shop there in Chico, and did a lot of arbitrary tasks like stacking tires and sweeping, but it was a job nonetheless. And then junior year, I took 2-period ROP welding, and that allowed me to learn more welding processes, get more experience with fabrication. And then that summer, I started doing masonry, a lot of measuring and cutting and all kinds of hands-on experience. I was 16 years old at the time. Senior year, I was teacher's assistant for the 2-period ROP welding class, and that allowed me to do like a work study for I worked at Chico Power Equipment. They did all the small engine repairs like lawnmowers and weed eaters and generators, things like that. I sharpened a lot of chains for chainsaws. Again, a lot of hands-on experience. I worked there for about a year and a half. And then senior year, actually it was my junior year, I went to regional and state competition for MIG welding, and I won gold for that at both events. So that was a big accomplishment. My junior year, post graduating high school, I worked at a small welding shop in Lake Almanor for about 6 months, and we did a lot of like custom and decorative fabrication, doing like handrails and built staircases, did some structural work, welding on bridges and things like that. After that, I worked for Thomas Welding and Manufacturing for about a year. They manufacture orchard equipment for almonds and walnuts, and I got a ton of experience with welding and fabricating. Again, manufacturing, it was a lot of repetitions of doing the same thing over and over, so I learned efficiency was a big thing that I took from that job. And every once in a while I do miscellaneous repair work. And then after UCS, I worked for Utility Construction Services in South San Francisco. I was there for over a year and a half. We did underground construction, focused primarily on civil work. Started off digging and jackhammering concrete for quite a while, and pouring concrete and screeding it by hand. And I was also on a crew that did vault restoration, so we would repair underground electrical vaults, which would include cutting and bending rebar, tying it together, cutting forms and forming concrete walls and structures underground. And on top of that, I became the equipment operator for the crew I was on at 20 years old. So I was driving a 10-wheeler dump truck with a piece of equipment behind it, either a backhoe, skid steer, excavator, on a 30-foot dovetail trailer through San Francisco. So I was 20 years old, getting some really, really good experience. And I had a couple leadership opportunities where I got to serve as like the foreman for the crew that I was on for a little while. After leaving that job, I wanted to be closer to Chico. So I started working for C.F. Conan & Sons. They're some local farmers in the Northern California area. And I worked there for, again, over a year and a half, which kind of led me into my job now. But while I was working at C.F. Conan & Sons, I was hired as a welder fabricator. They did a lot of custom farm repair work. That was one of my responsibilities, main responsibilities. I was introduced to machining. Didn't get extremely proficient on it, but I got familiar with a couple lathes that they had there and a couple CNC machines, but not great, but I definitely was exposed to them. And then when I worked there, I had a lot of opportunities to design equipment and certain structures and stuff that were built across the farm that I was working on. So I would draw stuff up either on SolidWorks or on a piece of graph paper, measure it out, and come up with basically like how much steel I needed, or aluminum, whatever it is I was working with, and I'd place the order of materials, and then once the materials showed up, I would load it off the truck, pull it off the truck, and begin fabricating whatever it is I was working on. And for a lot of the projects, I directly worked with a guy that was going through mechanical engineering program at Chico State, and another guy that was like kind of a self-taught engineer. He'd been building stuff on the ranch for over 30 years. So I worked directly with both of those guys when it came to designing different pieces of equipment and things that were needed to be built on the ranch. And then there's a couple of projects that I tackled on my own that I was pretty proud of. One was I turned a flatbed like Ford F650 into a dump truck. Took a flatbed, cut it all apart, and attached essentially a big dump box on it, installed hydraulic scissor lift, and cut all the hoses, did all the hydraulic work, and got that thing operating and dumping walnut waste there on the ranch. And then one of my other really big projects was a grapple for a Cat 938 loader. It was probably roughly 8 feet tall when it was fully extended, and it was used for clamping big piles of brush, like down trees, and setting them onto like big burn piles. But that was another big project that I took on while I was there. The engineer that I mentioned that worked at Chico State, he designed it and kind of drew it up on SolidWorks, and then he left the company. And so I was left with a handful of drawings and a palette of parts, and it was up to me to put it together. And again, that had some had a fair amount of machining involved with it, and designing like the hose system for the hydraulics that actually open and close the grapple. So that was another really big project that I'm still very proud of to this day. And then that kind of takes me into like where I'm at now. So I had a fair amount of job experience prior to joining the Marine Corps, and at 23 years old, I had a calling, and I'm on that journey now currently. I've been in for just about 3 years now. So prior to the Marine Corps, I learned an extensive amount of technical skills, and I know I have a passion for building stuff. If it involves a tape measure, I'm probably gonna enjoy it. But the Marine Corps has allowed me to focus on the intangible skills that I felt like I kind of lacked on in my younger life. And some of the things that I've taken from the Marine Corps in the short amount of time that I've been in is professionalism, discipline, and leadership. And those three things are extremely important to me, but they don't totally relate to STEM. But I think those three characteristics are extremely important into finding a good student and someone who's passionate about a career in a field such as STEM. So if I were to receive this scholarship, I would use it to better myself and prepare myself financially and educationally to pursue my goal of going to Stanford for a mechanical engineering degree. Again, my name is Alex Brinkley. I appreciate your guys' consideration and the opportunity for this scholarship. Thank you.